And what we're reading currently is called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. This book it's an older text that was written by a former plastic surgeon who basically learned through his work that it's not the physical that, and when I say physical, I mean things that we can touch and see. It's not the physical things that change our life and the tangible things and the physical things that we do with our bodies, but it's the internal mechanism, how we think about ourselves, how we think about other people. It is our self concept, what we believe to be true about ourselves. It's all of those things that really influence how we think, influence our decision making and our behaviors. And when messed up things are clogged up in the self concept, then we navigate life in a messed up way. That's just what it boils down to. If we believe negative things about ourselves, not that we are, no one is out here waking up every day saying, I'm going to think negatively about myself, right? Raise your hand if you're doing it. I bet you no one has their hand up, because nobody wakes up in the rising and says, now, how can I sabotage myself with my thought process today? Ain't nobody thinking that, right? No, but the collective consciousness, right? The fabric of our consciousness kind of leads to that dynamic of self-sabotaging ourselves with our thoughts. So just an example, very blanket example. Have you ever heard the term, the struggle is real? Or have you ever heard the term, child, everybody out here is struggling? Okay? Those terms sound normal. They sound like something we may have heard an auntie or an uncle or even ourselves say at some point, right? But when we say that out loud, we are affirming the struggle is real. We are affirming that everyone is out here struggling. And if that's something that we say on a regular basis, that means that is something that lives somewhere deep in our belief system. Somewhere along the way, we adopted, we allowed a belief to solidify, to take root in our system that told us, and that tells ourselves and tells the world that we believe that we're meant to struggle. So if you believe in your self-concept that you are meant to struggle, that so if something happens to come to you a little bit easier, you might not believe it. You might be skeptical of it. You might think it's too good to be true. You might think you're getting scammed. And while those things are real in life, right? Scams are real, right? Things like that do happen. Life isn't meant to be an uphill battle, beat down struggle every moment of your life. It's not what it's meant to do. But if we believe that that's what it's meant to do, then we fall short of accessing all of our possibilities, because that's not even on our radar. And beyond it being on our radar that we can see, we don't even have the belief that there is something beyond the radar that we can't see, because we believe it's supposed to be hard. It shows up as hard. Oh, well, that proves what I believe. We want to get deep. It's spiritual as well as being scientific, but not to go off on too many tangents. You also said, right, we don't plan to say we're going to do bad. No, we don't do that. But so why do those things happen? And why are those thoughts in our minds? Who put them there? Did we put them there? Or did we agree to them? We just got finished listening to the preface of Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. 2 months ago, the first time I read this preface, and now I'm coming up 2 months later with so many other notes. So let's dig in. The first thing that came up for me is Y'all remember those extreme makeover reality TV show franchise? And they would have a person who may have just, wanted some plastic surgery, or maybe because of something that happened, was, an accident or something, they were in need of some plastic surgery, and they would apply to go on this reality show. And they had a home edition as well, where they would make over people's homes. In the extreme makeover show, the person would get this facial makeover. The whole point was to help them improve their life in some way. It was help to fill a void in something that was lacking. In the earlier parts of the book, the author says that he would do the reconstruction of people's faces. After about 21 days, there would be an uptick in the person's self-esteem. However, they would still be left feeling on the inside, feeling like inadequate, feeling still like not good enough, still feeling those feelings that they still felt before the procedure. We go and get these procedures, and it helps with the self-esteem, but doesn't help with what's going on internally. So a few months ago, we did a discussion together about intentional intuitive isolation, the idea of spending quality time with ourselves and what that looks like. In the beginning of that conversation, we talked about how self-esteem is different from self-worth, in that self-esteem is related more to the praise and the kudos that we receive outside of ourselves. Oh, you did a good job. Oh, your hair looks nice. And those kinds of things are self-esteem builders, which is not the same as internally feeling like, even though I may have spelled some things wrong on that paper, I still did a good job. Even though the humidity kind of poofed up my hair a little bit, my hair still looks good. It made me think of that, the difference between self-esteem and self-worth, and how we use those terms as synonyms a lot. So we use them as terms that mean the same thing, right? Probably because they are both positive ways to think about the self. But one is influenced by things external, and the other is influenced by what's going on internally. It made me think about those extreme makeover reality shows, and how people would get the work done, but it may not always be something that they can keep up because the self-concept hasn't changed. You know what I'm saying? So perhaps there's still some habits that were contributing to the former way that the face was being expressed. You didn't change your mindset or your self-concept in order to change the habits to be able to keep up the lifestyle that's going to be able to help you keep up this new face. So sometimes we go and we see like the follow-up stories, and you see that the people done gained the weight back, the people done, I don't know, the surgery just like went awry somehow. And that has everything to do with not addressing what's happening on the inside. So that goes back to we started off the conversation saying it's not what we do in the physical, the things that we can touch and feel and see. It's not what we do in the physical that changes life, but it's what we do internally, in the internal realms, in the places where we can't see. It's what we do in those dark, creative, introspective, and reflective spaces that changes life. So let me get into the chat. Yes, Julius. Yes, there it is. Yes, it is false fulfillment. Yes, conscious beauty. Yes, a lot of surgeries are definitely due to insecurities or being influenced by another individual. Yep, we talked about that earlier. how the surgeries be because of some type of insecurity. Now we know that sometimes the surgeries are for some type of corrective issue. You know, we're not bashing the science. The science is important. Sometimes correction is needed. We not talking about stuff like that here, y'all. All right, so like let's be clear. All right, we talking about those situations where there is a lack, some type of void that obviously needs to be fulfilled, right? And then we're thinking that um, the plastic surgery is going to be the answer to make me feel like myself again, right? Conscious Beauty goes on to say, I so overstand. A lot of people don't even think about the keep up. Yeah, they don't think about the keep up. That also comes up in those extreme makeover home edition installment of the franchise where people were getting these extravagant home renovations and did not have the financial literacy, did not have the discipline to be able to keep those homes up, didn't have the income. All right. They do it for the instant gratification and it doesn't last long at all. Yep. Julius says, from the male side of things, some look for prosthetics because of their self-esteem and size. Juice said a lot. All right, here we go. Juice. That came up for me as well. It made me think of one of my friends. She was a nerdy, heavy, tall girl, often part of the fat jokes when she was in high school. She then got bypass surgery done to her stomach, and in no time, she lost all her weight. I was in a crowd with her, and she confronted one of the guys that made fun of her and said, I'm no longer fat, so you can't do your fat jokes on me. She can't get fat jokes told on her anymore. That is correct. That don't stop other jokes. So are we dealing with the part of us inside that is bothered by the joke? Or are we fixing the external thing that caused the person to have something like that to joke about in the first place? We gotta deal with the thing on the inside that has an issue with the joke. And the book goes deep, deep, deep into all of these concepts, y'all, but that's at the surface, right? Or should I say the foundation? Let's go with the foundation. That's the foundation of it right there. Not being aware of that there's stuff going on inside that needs to be dealt with, and not having the tools. Okay, what are the tools? The vocabulary, the practices, right? Even awareness in this sense is a tool. The tools that we need to be able to navigate that inner world, right? The society that our modern society just is not built for that internal world navigation. Let me move on to the next point that stood out to me today. Maxwell Maltz said that when he started to pick up on this pattern with his patients, that it would help a little bit in the beginning about how they felt about themselves in the world, but wasn't really helping how they felt about themselves inside. So he said he went searching for the truth. And I just want to point out that there's truth, capital T, and then there's truth, lowercase t. I'm typing, that's what y'all hear. The truth, uppercase T, that's universal. What's the universal truth? What goes up must come down, right? And then we have truth, right? Lowercase t, which is always going to be individual. It's someone's individual truth that mango makes their lips swell. And that's not someone else's lowercase truth. But it is not a universal uppercase T truth, right? That mango is going to make your lips swell up. It's a universal truth that a tree nut is a tree nut. But it's not a universal truth that tree nuts are going to make everyone have an allergic reaction. I don't have one to them, but Conscious Beauty does. That's her truth. That came up for me when he said that he went searching for the truth. Because, yes, more than one thing can be true. Billions of things can be. How many people are on the planet? 8 billion? I don't know. But that's 8 billion truths. But I loved all of the different ways that he starts to introduce what direction the book's going to go in. He talks about self-concept psychology. And this is just one way to know yourself. It's just one way. What else did he? Oh, this was so good, y'all. He said, you are not your body. It's not something that you are. It's something that you have and that you use. So it's like, yes, you're not your body, but you have a body and you use your body. At the same time, you are not your thoughts. You have thoughts and you use your thoughts. So that part is about learning how to become the observer of our experiences and not identify so tightly with them that the experiences themselves start to be what controls us and what we think defines us. The part where he was talking about acceptance, so I just had a question and I'll write it in the chat. Where, when, and among whom do you feel the most acceptance? And we gotta get real about where we don't always feel that acceptance. I think the whole part about acceptance has something to do with that void that we might feel needs to be filled, right? The reason why we go for those types of procedures to begin with. They won't accept me, if my is small. They won't accept me if I don't have big and thighs. Acceptance plays a big role in this, because if we felt accepted inherently and innately, then it may not even cross our radar to do any of those external corrective things. This part was so juicy, y'all. That conundrum of when you want to go get a job, but you don't have experience to put on the application, but it's your first job. So how you going to get where the experience coming from? Okay. I remember that dilemma. We're going to put it in quotation marks now, because that's not really a dilemma at all. Back in the day, I remember that being, in my teenage, adolescent years, even in younger adult years. What experience do I put on this application if I had never had a job before, right? They hire off experience. So where I'm going to get the experience from is my first job. Similar thing with credit. If you don't have a credit history, but you got to have a credit history to apply for credit, then how am I going to get this credit history? All right. The odds are stacked against you. But that's exactly where the key is. Wherever it feels that the odds are stacked against us in some way, in my experience, I found that most times that's where the key is. Wherever that resistance is, or wherever that rub is, that's where the key to liberation from that thing is, right? So in that conundrum where it feels like the odds are stacked against us, I'll speak for myself here, stacked against me, that's actually where the key was. If they say that you need this thing to get this other thing, but in order to even get that thing, you have to get this thing that you don't have yet, chances are you probably already have it. Don't let that go over your head or under your feet. Think about it. When you did start to put experience on that first job application, where did that experience come from? What was it? Was it babysitting? What was it? Extracurricular activities from school because you was on a newspaper? What was it? Was it some church activities, washing cars, that little side job you did with your uncle? It was something that you were already doing naturally that people may have been paying you for, but you probably weren't. But it was something that you probably liked to do, that you were good at doing, that you had experience doing. And that experience is what you told them. And just like that, ooh, You better come on with it. Yeah. And just like that, ooh, the whole entire script got flipped. And you went from being the one. This is me, the table, and the entire spread, all my experience. And then we put it on a piece of paper. Come on now. And then we sign nature, we signature, we sign, right, this over to these people now that we flip the entire script and say, now you judge that and you tell me if it's good enough to be hired by your company. Consent. That's how we let it in. We literally just flipped the script, and just like that, Juice, the script got flipped. Where we were the ones, it's my experience that I'm bringing with my table to your organization to uplift you. We already have it. But the nature of society allows for all these weird things to get nestled into the self-concept. Oh, if you want to get a good job, you got to be this, and this. Well, how the hell did they come up with the standard of what being this, and this? Someone's experience, someone's standard already, someone's enoughness. They didn't pull that out of thin air. That these things have already come forth through us, right? Through the human resources. Thank you so much for the biddies. Conscious beauty. Let me shake them. I felt good too. If you haven't shaken your today, go ahead and shake them up. So just remember that, y'all, okay? Because everything is already within you. Same thing with the credit. Talking about, oh, you need to have a credit history to apply for this piece of credit. All right. Well, this is my first time, so what you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? Because you the credit, baby. You the original creditor. And if you are like, what do you mean by that? I'm not teaching about this on here today. But if you would like to get a head start, jump start, up jumps the boogie jumps me, this is what you need to go research. America's debt to Britain. Research the straw man. Research the original creditor to learn about parts of the credit system that they don't tell you about. Research to learn about the account that gets made under your straw man with your assigned numbers. Research maritime law. Research those things. And then you will see what I mean when I say you already had the credit. So that's what came up from me upon listening to that again with you all. And thank you all so much for listening. Hey.